Okay, so today we'll be doing cubic functions. So for cubic functions, that's when we'll be looking for the equation given the graph. So the question is determine the values of a, b, c, and d if f of x equals x cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. So now we need to know the equations we use in order to determine what? To determine the graph, the equation of the graph. So the first one is the one that we are given, which is x cubed plus bx squared plus x plus d. And then the second one, we have about 3 of them or 4, if I'm not mistaken. So we have f of x equals a into x minus x1, x minus x2, and then x minus x3. Where x1, x2, and x3, we are talking about what? The intercepts in the graph. So you only use the intercepts for x1, x2, and x3. And then the second one, or the third one, we have f of x equals a into x minus x1 squared and then x minus x2. And then someone would ask, why do we have a squared now? So we have a squared because let's say we have a graph that looks like this. So let's say we have a graph that looks like that. So for that graph, we can see that a turning point is being shared with a what? With the x-intercept. So if we have a turning point that is being shared with an intercept, we are going to have the product of two same things. So the product of two same things is going to be a square, because here, so we are going to take it as we have 2 points, because we have the intercept and also the turning point at the same time. So that's why we have a square. Or it can look like this. So let's say we can also have f of x equals a into x minus x1 and then x minus x2 squared. Instead of x minus x1 squared, now we have x minus x2 squared. So now why do we have x minus x2 squared? We have x minus x2 squared because instead of being the first turning point, instead of the turning point, the first turning point being shared with what? With the intercept, it can be the second turning point. Let's say it can look like this. So this is the second turning point that is now being shared with what? With the x-intercept. So that's why now we have x minus x2 squared. So now we are going to use these equations to find what? To answer the question or to find the value of a, b, c, and d. So if you can check from these equations, we do have the intercepts here. So if you have the intercepts, you go straight where? You go straight to these equations. So we are going to use these equations instead of this one, because now you're given the intercepts. So now if you can check, how many points? We are supposed to have 3 points, by the way, for the for the cubic function. We're supposed to have 3 intercepts. So this is the first one, and this is the second one. However, we can see that our graph passes through the origin. So if it passes through the origin, that's our third point. So we are now going straight to this equation. So we're going to apply this equation, and then we try to find the value of a, b, c, and d. Okay, so now we have f of x. So I said we're going to use the first one, which is x minus x1, x minus x2, and then x minus x3. So now I'm going to substitute the point. So I have f of x equals a into x. Remember I said x1, x2, and x3 are the intercepts. So we go to the first intercept, which is -2. So I'm going to have x minus -2. Please don't forget to put the brackets there, because you're going to make mistakes if you don't do that. And then now we close, and then we're going to have x minus. The second point, it's a 0 if you can check there. So it's the origin, so that's going to be x minus 0. So we're going to have x minus 0. And lastly, we have x minus 3, because the second one is positive 3. The last one is positive 3 from there. And then we can simplify this. So simplifying this, so we're going to have f of x into a multiplied by what? X plus 2 negative by negative. And then I'm going to shift this 2, I'm going to shove this 2, so I'm going to have x minus 3. And then this one is just x. So from here, because it's x minus 0 by the way, so I'm going to have f of x, simplifying it further on, I'm going to have f of x here, a multiplied by what? X multiplied by x, that's going to be b, x squared. And then x multiplied by -3 is going to be -3x plus 2x. -3x plus 2x, that's going to give us -x. And then 2 multiplied by -3, that's going to give us -6. And don't forget to multiply by that x. And then now we are going to continue simplifying that part. So if we do that, we're going to have x multiplied by x, that's going to give us x cubed minus x squared minus 6 x. So now from here we run at the value of a, so we need to find the value of a. How can we find the value of a? To find that, we go to our graph. We should be given a point, another point, instead of what? Instead of those intercepts, we should be given another point that we're going to substitute and then find what? And then find our answer. So if you can check, we are given a point here in the graph, which is 2 and 8. This is not a turning point, it's a point in a graph. A turning point is supposed to be somewhere here, but this point is here. So that's what? That's not a turning point, it's a what? It's another point, it's just a point in the graph. So our y is 8, and then our x is positive 2. So we're going to have 2 cubed minus 2 squared minus 6 into 1. 2, and then from here we can do what? We can simplify, and then we are going to have 8 equals 8. So 2 cubed is 8, and then minus 2 squared is 4, minus 6 multiplied by 2, that's a 12, and then we are going to have 8 equals 8 into, so minus 4 minus 12, that's going to give us about minus 16. And then minus 16 plus 8, that's going to give us a negative 8. So we're going to have negative 8. And I'm going to divide by negative 8 both sides because we're looking for what? For a. So our a value is now going to be negative 1. And then we check our graph. Our graph start by... Okay, so I just realized that from the point that we are given, it's not positive 8, however, it's negative 8 because it's on the... it's below x-axis, by the way, so that's negative 8 instead of positive 8. So that means here we are going to have negative 8. So now, simplifying from here, we're going to have negative 8 equals a into, so here we said negative 4 minus 12, that's going to give us negative 16. I mean negative 8, by the way, so that's going to be negative 8 because 8 minus 16, that's going to give us negative 8. And then from here we can divide by negative 8. So that means our a is going to be positive 1. So you can see the mistake by looking at your graph. So your graph, as you can see, start by increasing. So if you start by increasing, that means the value of a should be positive. However, if you start by decreasing, like this question, like this graph, if you start by decreasing, that means the value of a is going to be negative. And then from here, we are going to take it back to what? To this point, or here we can just take it to this point, and then we can now simplify and find the value of b, etc. So now, doing that, I'm going to substitute the value of a here. So I have a into x minus x cubed minus x squared minus 6x. So now the value of a is 1, so I'm going to have a 1 equals 1 into x cubed minus x squared minus 6x. And then now I'm going to have f of x equals x cubed minus x squared minus 6x. So from here I can now find the value of, since I have the value of a, I can find b, c, and d. So the value of b, okay, the value of a is 1, the value of b is the coefficient of x squared, that's going to be minus 1, the value of c is the coefficient of x, that's going to be minus 6, and the value of d is the constant. And if you can check, we don't have a constant, so that means it's plus 0, so that means d is just going to be 0. So now this is going to be our final answer.